We'll build a road.
Okay. First off, I want to remind everybody, be sure and turn your cell phones to silent or off.
Do I have to?
Yours has to go off at least once during the
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I know.
You're being a real nudnik making me turn it to silent. But it's all right, I'll do it right now.
Well, that way you can't talk to it.
I'd like to welcome all y'all to the South Plains Rec Center, and many familiar faces, and I know some of you travel a good ways, and we appreciate that. And you know that you're welcome back at any time. We want to be good to Rabbi Katz, and this box up here is Mark's South Plains Rec Center, but tonight is for Rabbi Katz. So if you've got a monetary donation, if it's cash, he takes cash very easily. You can take a check, make it out to David Katz. You can make it out South Plains Rec Center if you want to designate things different ways, and then we can write a check afterwards. But tonight's blood offerings for him. So I think that's all my announcements, and I'm going to turn it over to Jared Speck, and he's going to take it from here.
I'm Jared. I'm a student of Sam's for the last 15 years. I'm part of the Abilene group. And Rabbi Katz asked me to kind of give his mission statement to you guys, so you know what his push is, what his thing is. We all know Rabbi Richmond does Temple Institute, Temple rebuilding. Rabbi Katz has his own specialty. Before we get into his mission statement, though, the rabbi wanted you guys to know that in the last 2 years he's done a lot of online study, and he's had a lot of different study partners, and one of his study partners and students is one of our local Abilene group. It's my brother Jason Speck. They studied a lot in the last 2 years, and a lot of what they revealed and a lot of what they came up with turned into this book. And that's a win for the Texas group, for Sam, for all of us. So that's a big deal. I'm going to put his mission statement into his own words, so I don't have to say anything that's in my words. Not that I didn't write this down while he was speaking. Well, Rabbi Katz sees his life work as restoring the artifacts that were pretty much intentionally hidden or buried, intellectually, conceptually, and literaturally. When you read a book, maybe art scrollish, and some words are diluted or hidden, or some of the truer concept of Judaism is defended with a gate. His whole push is to reveal the real meaning behind a lot of that. And with the revelation, with these artifacts, basically just bring in the ability to purify the Temple Mount, and that's his effort to the rebuilding of the prophesied temple. The third temple is to reveal what was kind of hidden in the secular Zionist formation of Israel during its inception, and bring back more of like more of the Vilna Gaon's definition of Zionism. So that's what he does. Rabbi David Katz.
Thank you, everybody. So, the thing that I'm doing, I don't know if I knew it as clearly as I did until we had to really force myself into a corner and figure out what it is I'm doing. It's a very huge, huge undertaking, whatever this thing is. And I know the thing. This fellow here, you might know him, Russell Kirk, we're working on that thing all of next year. And we call it frontside Zionism, but Torah Project Vilna Gaon. What does that mean in layman's terms? Layman's terms is, we all know archaeology because of people like Vendell Jones, right? Bringing back the incense spice, and then you introduce your rabbi, Rabbi Chaim Richmond, who, he might not be out there with shovels, but he is synonymous with the Temple Mount. And that is the artifact of all artifacts. And that's what we're all in love with Rabbi Chaim Richmond equally. And I like to joke around, half joke, that he really has nothing to do with the Temple Institute. It's a cover for taking people up to the Temple Mount. Because that's where I met him in intimate quarters. And look, we all fall in love with the Temple Institute at first, but when you see the passion between a tour and the Institute versus him on the Temple Mount, where you're going to see what you're going to see, there's no comparison to that guy. So he took me up. I called him up, and Jason set it up for me. It was the best thing Jason or anyone's ever done for me to push me into Chaim Richmond's life. You know, all the rabbis do what they do, but that was essential. And I think what Rabbi Richmond would say is, if you're not in the Third Temple party, you're kind of not playing the game, because when you get up there, you're up there. And I had my profound experience. You know, my experience was, you know, you've all seen the imagery on the internet or movies of an amusement park that's grown over, it's abandoned and there's grass over it, and you say, man, there was that kid with the balloons, you know? There was that good time. Everyone sees the Cohen and the thing and the butchering of the animals. I'm seeing a barbecue of people in holy, Jason says this, it's God playing with his, how do you say it in English, Leviathan, Leviathan. God entertaining mankind in the holiest way possible. Offerings, the Kohanim, the priest, the song, the singing, the priestly blessing. I mean, that is the divine experience. And it's like God's up there saying, hey, remember yesterday when we were doing that, guys? There's echoes of that. So then we circled around the Temple Mount. And if you pray up there, you get arrested. But Rabbi Richmond says, go ahead, make the Kohen blessing, go ahead. And we did. We did the Kohen blessing up there. It's like, wow, they're not even flinching at Rabbi Richmond. So, yeah, I'll say the blessing. No, it was like stunning. That's who he is. And if there's any question who your rabbi is, well, he's up there doing that. He's offered more prayers than anybody in the last 2,000 years on that Temple Mount. That's a fact. I lived to see it. And you cannot gain that perspective from the wall. That much I can tell you. It's kind of like when you want to do the mitzvah of sukkah the first time. My wife actually passed on, but when we were together as a family, we went to her parents every Sukkot. And her father had, a big sukkah, and I never had a sukkah before. And so I look, it's a great mitzvah, and the first night of Sukkot's an amazing night, but I had last year was my first time with my own sukkah. Usually I'm on the top of an apartment building, so little kids, we join with the neighbors. And I said last year, look, this is ridiculous. If God wants to get his house back, don't I have to make my house? And make my temporary house, which in a couple weeks from now, that's what we're doing. And my son, it was raining last year in Sfat on the first night of Sukkot. A little bit, not so much. Reuven, my son, was asleep. He was passed out. My daughter wanted to go down, and my mother was staying with me at that time, and she wasn't going in the rain, so it was me and my daughter. I was sitting in an empty sukkah. We didn't put the decorations up. As I said, I'm a yeki, right? I'm just a pashut yid. Don't put anything up. I'm meat and potatoes. So I had my stender and my table. That's it. And my daughter was there with me. And I was sitting in front of a white curtain. I'm saying, wow, I don't know what this is, but it is something. Meaning, until you're faced with an experience like that, you really can't predict what's going to happen. That's how it was on the Temple Mount. You're in front of the wall, in front of the wall, in front of the wall, and then you go up with Rabbi Richmond, it's like, whoa. Why in the world are the rabbis not jumping up and down saying, everybody get up here now? And it's one man in the universe is doing that. And you all know who he is. It's not me, that's for sure. So I like to have an ego too and say that the Ger Toshav is incredible work and the most important you'll ever find. But you know what? I will never convince myself that it's more important than what Rabbi Richard's doing. It's just a fact. I mean, he is the person that goes up on the Temple Mount. There's unparalleled, unrivaled, nobody else. So make that point known. Because you guys are, what do you call it, beneficiaries, benefactors. I always get that mixed up.
We're both.
Okay, you're both. Good. So that makes all the more sense. But that's who you are. And I could probably end the talk right now and walk away, and that's it. I've already said enough. So have a nice night. We'll see you guys next week. But that's the truth. You know I'm not lying. That is the bottom line. That's who you are. Because that's who you've chosen to be your rabbi, and that's how you've identified. And it's just, at this point now, we're just going to have a nice night and drink a bottle of water and talk. And but the real story is God never stops telling the story, and we're not going to stop telling the story, because what's the irony? It just keeps getting better. Rabbi Richmond now has a farm for the red heifer in Israel. Right? Now tell me where that exists in Crown Heights or in Borough Park.
Yeah.
Not happening. So, is he working for the Temple Institute? No. He's going over the Temple Mount and raising red cows. And how weird is that? Now we're going to just kind of make a little lateral move. Why would you want a red cow? How does that work? Do you even have a portion of the red cow? And why does it have to be a red cow? So, the bottom line is, how many of you know, and we can even do a show of hands, how many of you know that one of the strongest ger verses in the Chumash for anything is the red heifer, and it includes explicitly the ger? Raise your hand if you knew that. Thank you, Dr. Specht. It's pretty profound, don't you think? And there it is. And this is how I really got my crusade started. I'm going to change. I'm throwing an audible here, guys. Because I used to write articles, and I started looking for the Noahide in the article, and I can find anything and anything. Sam knows that now. And so by the time I get through Vayikra, how do you say that in English? It's Leviticus. I'm in full ger mode. I'm not taunting the ger every day of my life. And then we turn the corner to Numbers, the Midbar. And we're cruising pretty good. Ger's popping up. I'm seeing this thing, ger, whatever it is. And we reach the red heifer, Parshas Chukas. I call up, maybe many of you know who he is, Ray Patterson and now Hillel Penrod, who were heading Noahide nations at that time, and I was young, insane Rabbi Katz. Why was I insane? Because I'm saying, yeah, the ger is part of the paraduma, no problem. It says in the pasuk, no problem. The verse says the red heifer and the ger go together. And they're like, I remember I called them. For me, it was like 4 a.m. I just finished writing my article, and for them, whatever 7 hours back is, or 8 hours back, whatever it was. And they said, Rabbi Katz, what you're saying is potentially fantastic, but I'm not prepared to go there, because is it too good to be true? I mean, really, you're saying the ger and the red heifer? This is already years ago. And I was sure, I know how to read. Come on, ger is there. You really have to look it up. And that was the only hesitation they had, was, look, if I let go of my self-defense, man, I'm with you. I am with you. And unfortunately, people are still making that calculation, while people like Jason and Jared, Russell, Teresa, and all those other people, Jeremy, are saying, man, where's everybody else? We're in full throttle over here. Because that was the beginning when I really understood, just to kind of go back to who Rabbi Richmond is, why would this guy care about a red heifer? I mean, really, don't you have better things to do? But it makes sense. They go, the temple, red heifer, ger. And that's where the most profound Torah is. How do you think Mashiach comes? Righteous ger, as we're calling it. And you may have formerly, in the beginning of this movement per se, the Noahide, the righteous Gentile, the God-fearer. Whatever you called yourself, nothing really changes. It's still you. It was you. It will be you. And whatever you call yourself, it really doesn't matter in the end of the thing. All we're doing here is saying, hey, you, the Torah had you in mind 3,000 years ago, the ger in your gate, the red heifer and the ger in your midst, Shabbos, blah, 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 and the ger will rest with you. All these things It's really not even a word, it's ger, as if to say you. And the rabbis are saying, who's you? Maybe it's him. But him might be him. How do we know? The answer is, you know. Can I honestly tell you that it's not you? Am I going to just break up this congregation here? None of you are kosher. Go home. Because Art Scroll said it's convert or nothing else. Go home. Bye. Have a nice day. Is Rabbi Richmond wasting his time?
No.
No. The Torah is very explicit, and it need not get into details of this kind one, and this one, and that one. There are halacha, but it's per mitzvah. Okay? It's a great science, but not to get bogged down in who's present and accounted for. The halacha, per se, of the red heifer is, are you biblically impure? That means, how do you get biblically impure? By believing in God, therefore you can become affected by evil. If you don't know what evil is, you are not biblically impure. The Pope is not biblically impure. He is representing the evil forces of the world because he fails to accept the Torah and Hashem and the Temple Mount, yada, yada, yada. If you have removed yourself from that, even a smidgen, open your heart to God and said, look, I don't know everything, but I know one thing. It's about God and His unique oneness of God. If you even open your heart that much, what does the Talmud say? I forget how this works. Open your heart much as the eye of a needle, and the elephant comes through, and then something. If you do that much, then the blessings are there. It's just a matter of time and normal progression of life, doing repentance like everybody else, opening your heart to God, progressing, learning, and coming through the tshuva, repentance experience like everybody else that believes God, that we're all in this together. That's why we are all in it together, called the red heifer. That's why we all go to the temple together when it's built, called the third temple. There's many names for it. Benucha, house of rest, the house of prayer, house of all nations, Ezekiel's Messianic temple. Everyone's there. That's why the prophet goes as far as to say, even the Nachri, the one who's with God but can't yet quite say it, right? Doesn't know how to say it, doesn't never heard the word to say it. He calls himself in his heart, God, I'm with you. And it just manifests in his life, but he knows who he is, he knows where he is. And there's all these amazing little storylines in Torah. Red heifer, Messiah, Shem, i.e., Melchizedek or Melchizedek, right? All these fascinating little pearls. And the biggest one in my work, World of the Ger, any show of hands of how many of you have actually read the book, World of the Ger? Oh, so I don't need to talk, I'll go home. So I don't need to introduce you to Naaman, do I? Naaman is the guy. We're all Naaman, right? If we're all Bali Tshuva, we're all repenting, we're all wanting the 7 dunks in the Nile River, you are a Naaman.
Jordan.
What did I say, Nile? That's a bad mistake. Well, Moses got dunked in the Nile. It's the Moses program. Come on. Keep up, keep up, keep up. Of course it was the Nile. From the Nile to the Jordan. Isn't that the whole prophecy of future Israel? I know what I'm saying. It's you guys got to keep up. So
from the Nile to the front.
I meant that. See, the Jordan will expand. It's a small little river now, but it will expand, Sam. Come on. Oof. I have to re-educate this. We all know that. So, then someone's going to say, what about the 4 in Eden? The 4 rivers from Gan Eden, the Hiddekel, those 2, all the rivers. And the point is, Naaman in the Jordan River, that's the thing. That's us, you know. What is a mikveh? How does it work? How do you, it's just, what is it? Who knows what it is? It's just, you want to do it. That's Naaman. You just jump in, ask questions later, and avoid Gehazi like the plague, and find Elisha, and run your Elijah program, and run back with the dirt of Israel, and get yelled at for stealing from Israel, and it doesn't matter, because I'm doing it anyways, because God just told me to, and I don't have to explain why. Just know it's right. That's Naaman. That's the program. So you can all get creative in your own minds and think, and I'm sure you all are working on your little pockets of Torah of the strange anomaly of the Torah. And I'm telling you, the end of that story, yeah, you're looking at Ger, you're thinking about Ger, you don't know how to say it, but the end of the story will be you found Ger in the Torah. That's how the story goes. Because guess what? If it's not Ger, then it's just Jewish, Jewish, Jewish. Jewish, Jewish, Jewish. Jewish, 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 Jewish. And that's just not reality. At all. Not because it's like a nice thing to do for people and we let other people in too. It's the cold-hearted facts. Who do you think was standing at Sinai? Gerim and Jews. Who was all through the first temple? The Gerim and the Jews. Who were the God-fearers in the second temple? The Gerim and the Jews. Who is it in this room now? Gerim and Jews. Where will it be for all of time? Is, was, will be Gerim and Jews. It's like if Adam and Eve were the first program and they sinned, and therefore we are repairing their episode experience to the culmination of the Messiah, that will end up being represented in the temple with Gerim and Jews. That's really where it ends, and some will actually convert, some won't. Jews will identify with Gerim more. This guy is the king of that. I'm just following in some footsteps, apparently. So the bottom line is, this relationship always is and always will be. And the Torah is the eternal stamp of that. With that said, that's what I do. So my job is to repair and return the lost articles. Right? If there is an archaeology, an archaeological site, there's something else called the textual artifacts, and conceptual artifacts. The Vilna Gaon, how many of you have heard of the Vilna Gaon? Okay, good. It's not my belief. He started this in 1740. Right? There was a major thing you've probably all read in your art scroll Chumash that in the year 1740s, when the new era really started. You can call it the Industrial Revolution. You can call it modern Judaism. You can call it modern everything. The whole world became modern, and we are living out that fantasy to this day, to the culmination of the Messiah. Where everybody had a certain agenda, much like you can compare the episode of the spies, right? There was 10 spies that had one agenda, 2 spies, Caleb and Joshua, had a holier, specific agenda, correct? The Vilna Gaon says, okay, you guys are going Judaism, religion, development, okay, I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to invent Zionism, and I'm going to return the innate holiness to the Temple Mount so that Ezekiel's temple can be built in the proper realm of holiness. Now, some people will think, they will read certain things wrong, and assume they've read that there is no more holiness on the Temple Mount. That's not quite true. Right? It's not like blown up to holiness. You've heard of the verse, Sukkos David Nophelis, this tabernacle of David has fallen, something in English, correct? That means it's there, it's collapsed, like a lung. The lung is, right, collapsed, oh, there we go. Our job is to finish what Ezra started. Ezra enters the land, but doesn't erect the sukkah, so to speak, the third temple of the prophesied son of David. Why they didn't? Because it's prophesied. It's going to be a particular type of redemption, and that was not it. But the gateway or path to that redemption has been given over generation, called the tradition of Torah. Know this word in Hebrew, the Masorah of Torah. You've read the ethics of the fathers. Moses received from Sinai, and Sinai over to Joshua. That word of that transmission is Masorah, and in your English lexicon, know it as the tradition. And thank God there is a tradition. Otherwise, we're all lost. And we have to reinvent the wheel. But we're not reinventing the wheel. There was a tradition handed over, and the Vilna Gaon reached a specific time of coordinate in time and space where he realized he was the guy, had the wisdom to return those artifacts. Ger, it'll become the Nazarite tradition, the Shekhinah missing from the second temple. What is Zionism? What is the land of Israel? Or in Hebrew, Torah Eretz Israel. All these things is like, what is that? What is that? What does it mean to be grafted into Israel? How many of you had that question? What does it mean to be grafted into Israel? Raise your hand if you had that question. Raise your hand. We have that answer. We've researched it. We've found it's not that hard. You just have to have the blessing to find it, the tools to find it, the opportunity to find it, just like any archaeologist. Okay? Rabbi Richmond found the Temple Mount. That's like the find of finds. That is where his soul was meant to go. My soul was meant to go this way. Everybody has a soul. As we've talked about in the car, all that's going on is we are all souls, and our souls have missions, and we are here to do that mission. That mission ends in unison. How's it go? Hine mato v'umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. That's all there is.
How good and pleasant it is for brothers to dwell like one.
Amen.
Amen.
And that's called the third temple, Ezekiel's temple, where everyone is there to witness godliness. Right? Godliness entering our space, where we can be, there's no word to say it. That's the whole thing. You don't have to say it. You just know what I'm saying. When you're in the temple, you know what that is. Thus, we're not reinventing the wheel. And this now is where I'm going to segue into what is the Ger Fak. Frequently asked questions. We have not reinvented the Ger. The Ger always was. The Ger never wasn't. So what's the shtick, Rabbi Katz? The answer is, I shouldn't be up here. I shouldn't have to be doing this. More people should be doing their job. Rabbi Richmond will tell you all about that. Why are there not people endorsing the Temple Mount? When I researched the Temple Mount issue, not that I doubted Rabbi Richmond, I wanted to find the sugya, the matter, what's the Torah discussion. It just leaves you shaking your head saying, okay, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse for it. I'll tell you what the issue is. There's an assumption that people, I don't even say it, just don't want good learning. Okay? They don't want good learning. That's a bad assumption. It's just a bad assumption. Noahides only want heaven. They don't want to learn Torah for the what do you call it? For the sake of heaven. Bad assumption. That's a bad assumption. If the assumption were true, then we're looking for a Ger Toshav movement of political stuff. That's not what it's about. Therefore, need not reinvent the wheel. All we've done is it started for me with one question. It's not on this, actually it is, I think, on, it is here. And in fact, I will ask the first question, Dr. Specht. When I started teaching, I had a Torah of Shem series that I was doing. That's my initial passion with, there's not a Noahide movement, a Ger movement, it's just a Torah movement, Torah Shem. Right? I fell in love with the Torah Shem. Now, what that is a whole artifact that needs to be recovered too. How many of you have read Parshas told us, and Jacob learned in the tents of Shem, and you say, what is that? Whatever it is, I want to know. Well, I asked that question. And I happen to live on the actual campus of Shem and Avers, my backyard. Tzfat. So that's how I had the chance to fall in love. Rabbi Richmond has the Temple Mount. I'm living in Shem's yeshiva all day, every day. And Jason, you do too, by virtue of the internet. So we live it up. Don't think we don't. That cave is outside my window. I see it every day. And it has been an inspiration in my life. And with that, I started teaching 34 classes and digging out, there's that thing, listen to the imagery, digging out the Torah of Shem and Aver. It was digging out. And I made one calculation. I must buy 50,000 books with a search engine on this because I don't want to run out of information. So we searched for Shem or Malki Tzedek, either one, Shem ben Noach, Malki Tzedek. 2,000 hits came up. I said, at least I have 2,000 classes to give. And we're going to give 2,000 classes tonight, so I hope you're ready. I taught the classes, not all 2,000, just one. And the questions started coming in. You guys have already asked the questions. You already know what they're going to be. They're written here, some of them. But the obvious question that everyone's asked, can a non-Jew keep Shabbat? How many of you asked that question? Raise your hands. Right? You guys have asked that question? And it's a very close personal friend / student of mine that asked, not then he wasn't, but now we've become. And I had a choice. Do I tell this person what the party line has been until now? We are not nice to that person. That's the party line. We tell him no nicely and don't ask again. But that never sat well with me in yeshiva. It didn't sit well with me. I want to get to the truth. And the story be told, case in point, the answer is a ger can keep the Shabbat. I looked up ger in the beginning of my research, and I found out that we did not have to reinvent the wheel. I didn't need to think of a great logical Talmudic calculation. Well, if we take Shabbos and we do it on Tuesday, but we call it Wednesday, and we do a somersault in the front yard, it could be that there's a rabbi that paskins that last week was Shabbos, so we kept Shabbos. According to the halacha, because I drank Kool-Aid, which is like grape juice. Not everybody holds that. Some say it has to be syrup. It's a machlekes. And we're working on the answer, but the cup should be styrofoam, 3 inches rim with a 4-inch base. In your hand, the left hand, if you need the right hand, you can do that. But not in front of a mechitza between the kitchen and the living room. Clear? That wasn't what happened. That wasn't what happened. What we found out was that there is a bona fide ger. It's the wheel. We don't need to reinvent anything. There's a wonderful Torah out there. It's right behind me. You see it with your own eyes. There's buried gems, many dinosaur bones looking to come out and actually resurrect. The 13th principle of the Rambam, that the Techiyas HaMesim is one of the main foundations of faith. And this is all the same type of thing that's destined to come back. There will be a temple, there will be the Shekhinah, there will be the nations. Nations are actually called Gerim. They're actually called whatever you want to call them in the prophecies. There's many terms. The terms are not distinctions. It's a way of saying the story ends great. The story ends with love. But there are simple things. They're called mitzvot in a proper way that God wants things run in the world. That's obvious. It's not just, well, God loves me and I can... Yes, He loves you. He also wants you to be a mensch. Right? In the beginning of menschkeit is, there are 7 laws. Now, it's a path. And of the 7 laws, there are going to be those that say, Rabbi, that's enough for me. I'm very happy. I say, I'm happy for you too. And then there's another guy who says, I like the 7 and I'm feeling there's more. I'm saying, I'm with you. I'm with you. But there's another guy doing jumping jacks and somersaults saying, tell me what it is already. And we're saying, yes, there are many things you can do. There's nothing really you can't do. All we ask is you do it the right way according to the Torah on the deepest, most profound levels of wisdom that you can learn and get access to. And there's nothing preventing you or holding you back from doing any of these things. All God asks is do it with wisdom because wisdom is worth it. I used to get pizza in Sfat and I'm in a hurry and I don't have time. So they would say, do you want me to heat up your pizza? And I'd say, no, give it to me cold. I'm in a hurry. Then one day I thought, you know what? Let me heat it up. And you know what? It tasted a lot better. That 10 seconds, just chill out and put it in the oven, please. And it worked. And that's wisdom. You can do anything you want in the mitzvahs, 7 mitzvahs, and just don't kill somebody today. But wisdom is the spark of life. The Vilna Gaon project and the returning of the artifacts, it's not even about the artifacts that we give back. It's about the wisdom earned and gained and found from the holding cell of those artifacts. Right? What was holding the gear back? Now that's a wisdom. What was Art Scroll doing to hold it back? That's a great question and even better wisdom. What was the Vilna Gaon conceiving with his Zionism? Where did Zionism go wrong? Where is Zionism still right? Let you know a little secret. Zionism today only exists because the Ger Toshav made it happen. It does not exist, cannot function unless the ger is part of the program. And guess what? This past year for the Shemitah, the sabbatical year, they instituted for the first time in 2,500 years a ger toshav. And our book information was what made that happen. So it's back. It is back. Not the movement per se, but the knowledge of it, because it never left. The consciousness, people are willing to come out of the woodwork and say, okay, I can see, there is a ger. Always was, always will be. Okay, I confess. It never actually went away. And there's some people that say, what do you mean? And that's what we need to change. We need that paradigm shift to happen. The Temple Mount is not taboo. The red heifer will come back, and we can actually make that happen. It's not impossible. There can be a world of God-fearers, however you want to call that. There's no reason the temple cannot be built. Can a ger keep Shabbat, Rabbi Katz? Yes, he can. And how far that goes is up to him or her, how far they want to take it. And I will just offer a source for those that want to write it down. Go read Chrysos 9a. 3 opinions of how a ger keeps the Sabbath. He can do it one of 3 ways. Keep it like Yom Tov. On Rosh Hashanah, next 2 weeks from now, my mother will be lighting a flame and transferring that flame and can theoretically cook on the holy day. On Shabbos, I cannot do that. The ger on Shabbat can treat it like a Jewish holy day. Or like a Jewish intermediary day. In another 2 weeks after that, I will be in Sukkot. I should really not be counting money during that holiday or working stuff. Just don't do that. Just don't do that. Therefore, what would you do on Shabbos? Don't get the checkbook out, do the budget and taxes. Not now. Okay, not now. Just don't do that. Or Shabbat Shalom, Chevra. Have a great Shabbos, talk Shabbos, Shabbos is awesome, speech of Shabbos. And by the way, in the actual laws of Shabbos, that is the real Iker Halacha, the main thing to do, is talking Shabbos. And the Jewish Kiddush we say every day, we say 2 things, really. Be in the Shabbos spirit by talking Shabbos, actually 3 things. Be and talk about Shabbos, and if you do, you will delight upon the Shekhinah. And you celebrate Jews keeping Shabbat and the nations keeping Shabbat. Every Jew on the planet says that, believes it, sanctifies it every week, but they need a little help realizing how true their words really should be. And with that, I turn it over to you. The questionnaire is in front of you. Bombs away.
The last one.
What is the difference between a Noahide and a ger? Same words for the same thing?
I'll tell you my favorite answer. A Noahide is a fictional English term, and the ger is the exact same term but sourced in the original Hebrew, where the wisdom is found to explain what a Noahide should be, could be, would be, and the reality of his entire world.
Can you give that reference again?
2.
Chrysos.
I speak with an Ashkenazi twang.
Yeah.
It's Chrysos, or I was like, Cretot, really? Cretot 9a. I get spelling it's going to be a nightmare. Okay, Cretot Chrysos 9a. And you want to look for on the page, it says, it speaks about ger toshav. And Naaman is the example on that location. Yes, sir.
I have a question for a long time. It's very obvious where Abraham is considered a ger. It becomes simple because the nation has not come about.
Mhm.
Well, how is it that David Amelech calls himself a ger?
That's a great question. And this is one of those things that comes from wisdom. Let me give you a slight example where I want to go, and then I'm going to answer the question, okay? It's always an attractive thing in the mind to say, oh, that's what Adam did. So he stole. So if we don't steal, we fix Adam. Correct? That kind of thinking. So is it wrong to say that he didn't kill? It ends up being Adam was devoid of wisdom. Correct? And if you use wisdom, anything can actually fit with repairing Adam. Do you follow that? Okay. When King David says, I am a ger, it's that kind of concept. There's many, many ways to address why he says that. The simple answer that's abstract is, he just is. But that doesn't make sense on the other side. Why is he just is? One answer is because of his lineage, with Ruth coming in. One reason is because he hangs out with Gerim. Another answer is because his kingdom represents eventually the fourth kingdom of Israel coming into Ger. Just the fourth extension, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, not Joseph, who we say the fourth is King David. Right? So this is what we do in our learning, is you're always looking to gain those nuggets. How do we fulfill King David saying he was a ger? And there's no end to it. It just is, and it always has to make sense. And you'll find there's many that make sense. I've already stated a couple. He was a Baal Tshuva. A Baal Tshuva is exactly as a ger. Why? The tractate Bava Metzia. Do not taunt the ger. You've all heard of this mitzvah, correct? What does it mean, don't taunt the ger? Yesterday you were eating treif. Today you want to come and say, I want to learn Torah. Oh, yesterday you were eating treif. Today you want to learn Torah. Who are you? Baal Tshuva also. Yesterday he was eating treif, and today he says he wants to learn Torah. You cannot say to either one of them that an insult. If he's here to learn, he's just here to learn. So a Baal Tshuva is halachically sometimes a ger. King David is the quintessential Baal Tshuva. So when David said that, he simply knew he was a ger. Now, was he a non-Jewish ger? No. It always has to make sense. Is that answer? Thank you.
Oh, that's a question.
Go ahead.
I know the question's on here, but I guess I'll reword it a little differently. Because we know Yisro, he had many names.
Jethro, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jethro.
Yep.
And with us coming into this, it's always been a question of mine. I know you deal with names.
Yep.
How do we go into finding out how many names that we need to have? How are we going to identify ourselves?
You yourself, or Jethro?
Us.
The people.
Me, myself,
yeah.
the people now. I mean,
yeah.
not specifically Jethro, but just using him as an example because he had
right.
Was it 7 names?
Well, so I heard already tonight, Bill, you mentioned this, and it was about Cynthia's name being spelled with an S and not a C, right? I caught that. Why? Because that's what I do for a living, and what I do is that there's a reason. You made a statement that a lot of people here have differently spelled names, right? I think I heard that spoken. But that's called mazel, which is the divine providence of God, that the names are a product or recipient of God's divine providence. For example, if somebody names themselves, their mother names their child Cynthia with an S versus a C, there's a reason, okay? And it's from God. Names are prophetic. I don't know if you knew that, or if any of you knew that. Names are 100,000,000% prophetic. I don't care what language it's in. If your name is Hey You, that's a prophetic statement. Now the spelling, my alternative label that I go under in my, wisdom work is called Soul Mazel. I don't know if you've seen that before, SOUL, M as in Mary, AZZAL.com. I work with these kinds of things. Because the prophecies come out, which is the same exact mechanics in books like this, books like that. The Holy Tongue is built on these nuggets in names and letters. And I already see you know what I'm talking about because some of your books back there have that wisdom. The letters book, and I saw some other ones. For example, King David's name can be spelled Daled Vav Daled. You guys seen that? Or Daled Vav Yud Daled, correct? That's a mazel nugget, right? One is the gematria 14, one's the gematria 24. What does that mean? I don't know. There's not just one answer. It's always going to be an issue. Right? If I'm working on a big King David puzzle and ding and dang and ding, all these things, and I say, okay, we worked out our equation and we got to 24, whatever it is, in Einsteinian Torah, I say, oh, that's why King David has the Yud sometimes 24. It just makes sense. Now I know that's extremely abstract, but it's wherever you are in the fire with what you're working on, you have names and things in Torah that pop up. How many of you have entertained the broken vav in Pinchas's covenant of peace, Brit Shalom? Raise your hands if you've identified that. Anybody? Yeah? So there's a broken vav in the text, in the actual ink. It's broken, it's sliced. I've heard more Noahide Ger say it's always coming back to Pinchas's broken vav. I don't even understand what that is. You guys know that more than I do. But the Torah is filled with these little tiny nuggets. Why are there 3 dots over this letter? Why is there a huge letter here? Why is it small? Why is it spelled wrong? Why does it have a vav? All that's called the pardes, the orchard of learning, the simple meaning of learning, the deeper aspects, the allegorical, the metaphors. To be a master of that is one thing, to even enter it is another, but it really kind of is reality because of names like Cynthia with a C, Cynthia with an S. Why are there differences? Because it's the mazel. It really is. It's God's providence in all of us. And it's everywhere. Torah is the school of wisdom to learn how to interpret, live with, and identify those kinds of things. So names. Are you with me so far? Names. Your name contains all of that. I don't care if your name is Jason, Jared, David, Russell, okay, Shmuel. Everyone's name has this. And there's an infinite amount of wisdom. And I mentioned at the beginning that you can go into Ger as far and fast as you wish. You can pull back as far and fast as you wish. Mazel learning, as I call it, or looking for name wisdom, name pearls. There's no just one way to say it. Whatever you say is actually more than acceptable. You have the right and liberty to investigate these things at your own pace, speed up, slow down, take a left, take a right. There is no wrong answer. All you have to know is it exists, it's everywhere, it's with you. I'll tell you what world is not aware of that. It's the world where they didn't tell you. The Ger is just one big signpost of saying, we're now telling you that it's there. Whatever it is. Okay, if you're going to learn the Ramban and the Chumash. And the other world, they said, go ahead, buy it, no problem. In the Ger world, we said, half that book was not brought to you, it was censored, because Art Scroll has a policy not to put Kabbalah into their common commentary, because we make calculations for you, blah, 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 blah. And then I pull out my Pinchas spear and go crazy and say, why are you telling me what I can and cannot learn? Just tell me that it is here to learn. And that's my message to you. Again, full circle. I'm here to tell you, you can learn. It is in the Torah, but you have to find it. Because it is removed, not just from you, but from Jewish people also. The Ger is a convert in 99.9% of Jewish minds. Not because there's any truth to it, because it's just easier for the author to say, convert, proselyte, next. It's just not true. It might be true 1 out of 1,000, okay? But that does not justify the other 999. Your name. Don't just say it. There's just it just means something and a fake system. There's a true system. Learning Torah is everywhere. It applies everywhere. And names are one of the most rich experiences in learning. Everybody has a name. Names are prophetic. You always have that learning experience with you. That's why I got involved in name work very first. So Jethro is an example of someone who has 7 names. That's the precedent. The Vilna Gaon teaches no one is short of at least 7 names because of Jethro. My name, for example, is David. My name is also David Katz. My name is David Pesach. My name is David Pesach ben Leib Cohen. My name is David Pesach ben Leib Cohen ve Miriam Rachel. Then you can bring in the grandparents. No one is short of 7 names. You are not short of 7 names. That means all that wisdom is in you. It is prophetic. And your soul understands the prophetic. And that soul then has a mission based on the prophetic. So at the end of the day, is it really even, it's embarrassing to say this, is there such an idea that you don't have Torah? That the ger doesn't exist? It's insane thought to even suggest that there's not Shabbos and ger and Torah and all these things. It baffles the mind. Noahide says, if you want to find it, do it, but don't tell me. Ger says, it's a fact, it exists, I support you, go after it, and let the world know. Go ahead.
What about letting the world know? What would you suggest on that part of it? We live in a Christian,
Yeah,
more or less a
that's
Christian-
right. That's a good question.
Christian world right
Well,
now.
I'll tell you. The real answer is don't let the world know. That's the Jewish answer. Meaning, this is a question. Do we? I'm going to get to the answer in a second, but the kind of practical application is: should I wear a big yarmulke? Should I wear the tzitzit? Should I be telling, hey, I'm Ger Toshav? That's right. No. Yes. Maybe. Kind of. Sort of. What I tell people. First of all, you guys are, I think, the only ahead of the curve game in the business. You got to have a community and a synagogue and a rabbi, right? Because Rabbi Richmond knows your eccentricities, and we all have them. Meaning, don't go into some random shul saying, "I'm the Ger Tosha, Rabbi. I'm here for." No, you're not, right? You don't kick the door in and say, "I'm here just because." No, but not only because of that, you want a community. You want to go where everybody knows your name. It's nice. It's menschlich. It's Hamish. This is a Hamish place. You want that. You want someone fighting your battles. You want someone in your corner. You want someone to cry to. You want someone to vouch for you. So number one, tell people, get involved with a community, a Jewish community. That's where we're going to the temple. Let's just start getting there now. Right? And now, how you get in, you got to use a little shmekelka, right? A little bit of sechel. The Maral commentary actually says a seichel, Torah intellect, is a ger in this world. Right? It means it's not indigenous here. God put His Torah here. God put you here. And in a revealed kind of way. You are put here by God. You got to know how to, look, you're going to take lumps. People are going to get rejected. You're going to get denied. Some people walk right in. It's a mazel thing. Mazel is like the divine luck, where God just wants, Bob might just get hit over the head because God wants him over the head, and that's what can we do? Whereas the other guy, walks right in, they say, "Where have you been? We were looking for you." So there's no pattern to it, but get involved. If your community says you can wear a yarmulke, go ahead. If it's a little weird, don't. Russell makes yarmulkes and say ger on it. That's pretty clear. The point is, make a clear distinction, because it need not be confusing. We are not trying to confuse. And one of the nuggets that I teach about Shem in his Torah is in the merit of Shem covering up Noah, the white tzitzit come in the merit of Shem, and Abraham in his merit comes the blue in the tzitzit. So we can envision in the future, the blue aspect would go to the Jew of the congregation, the white with the ger. Makes sense, right? So we're not there yet in the progression of time, but baby steps is not a bad thing. Because it's not a movement. It's not pushing the envelope, barging in. It's more of an awareness, consciousness. And I know I can make that guy smile right now. It's a paradigm shift. And that's all we are at in time. If you can make a paradigm shift anywhere, you've done your job for this present coordinate. If you can get on any level, and we all know the paradigm shift. That's what I'm fighting. We're all fighting it. We're all seeing it. That's really the movement, per se, is we got to clear a hump and a hurdle. We know that, right? Is that pretty obvious? So there's a message. We all feel it. nobody wants to be the one that you know, the Ephraim to run out and get bapped over the head by a Molech. We don't want that. No one needs that. And I think the whole point is, and this is the real point, don't insult the intelligence anymore by saying, we're going to make you keep it simple because we don't want you to mess it up. No, everyone's got to be responsible. I'm not into politics, but one thing I noticed from the 2012 election, whether this is true or not in real, this is what I perceived in the debates between Romney and Obama. This is not real in real. It's just, even the shtick Hollywood of it, is that Obama was saying the government takes care of you, and Romney was saying let the people work and we trust the workers. Now, leave politics aside, I'm saying you guys are competent workers, Jews are competent workers, we're all people, we're all mature, let people work. The more we pull the reins in and give programs to run, that's where we get into the art school problem. Right? So you can only run according to your own programming. That's called you're now coming into your mission. You don't need to think about it. Otherwise you say, what does that mean? What do I do? How do I do it? Just do it. Just do what you do, and God will help you see the light. You will make a mistake, you'll learn from it. Either you're a bal tshuva or not, you guys are doing the tshuva, let the system work. The system does work. Torah works. As long as you're doing Torah, cannot go wrong. And if you go wrong, God brought you there to learn from it, and He's still doing the work. Don't make open waves. Do what you got to do. I think it should be. It's an endless wisdom. I mean, there's no clear cut. You just don't push the envelope. Just stick with the system and create the paradigm shift. I wish I could get that thing more clear. It's just a work in progress. We're all just kind of trying to figure it out and do it. And we're seeing it's God's will. I think if you know you're doing God's will, you're okay. If you're making it up, I think you probably know. Yeah.
And he already asked the question about Jethro and the names, but I am curious about, was Jethro a ger tzedek or a convert? I mean, they pretty much say it was convert in the art scroll.
Yeah, this is called the wow factor. This is where everybody loves Jethro, we've read about Jethro, we've all identified with Jethro, and everyone's read that Rashi, and he was a convert. That's what we're going to read, right? The answer is, it says in the Hebrew, lehit gayer. Every time. When I say every time, I mean every time. And I actually set up a set. Actually, if anybody wants to, while I'm talking, I invite someone to grab Shemot or Bamidbar off the shelf and look at that Rashi, and if you want to do a little project while I'm learning, while I'm doing this. Anybody? You want to volunteer? Yes? Just in your own time, okay? Grab Shemot and Bamidbar. It's been.
Maybe there's a Chumash over here. By the way.
It's in Parshas Behaloscha and Jethro.
Shemot?
Yeah, well, in Shemot it's Jethro. Might be a better one in Behaloscha, in Bamidbar. But look for the Rashi explaining Jethro's. I think you might want to use the English translation of the Rashi. I think I saw it there, if I'm not mistaken. I saw it.
Oh, it's Rashi back here?
I thought I saw it. I'm not sure. If there's a Rashi English, it'd be easier. Am I wrong? I could be wrong. The part 2 of tonight's seminar is we had the questions, and then I also prepared what I guess the paradigm shift. This is the paradigm shift. And that is every challenge that comes to me. Somebody will bring me the akum. Like can the non-Jew learn Torah? No, that's an akum. Can the non-Jew learn Torah? Yes, ger. There's no middle ground. Every source that says no is the idolater no. Every source that says yes is the ger, and they don't mix ever. Ever, 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 ever. The Torah is a precise wisdom. Now, in the biggest problem in language is, why does art scroll, that's what you're saying really, translate lehit gayer, whatever that means in Hebrew, as convert proselyte? Is that the question?
Yeah, basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's just Rashi.
Now, you're gonna read that as